Hi, I'm Dr. Dave Janda. Welcome back to Operation Freedom Briefings. The goal of these briefings in my weekly radio show, Operation Freedom, is to provide you information the bought-off lamestream fake media will not touch. We are available every Sunday for our radio show. It's live at davejanda.com. You can stream it live free. Go to davejanda.com from 2 to 5 Eastern. Hit the upper right-hand corner, the listen button. Great analysis, great guests. This past week, we had General Tom McInerney. We had former CIA officer Kevin Shipp on discussing the deep state and how, in fact, the deep state is now facing the counteroffensive by Donald Trump and his administration. In addition, we're also available 24/7 on this YouTube channel and at davejanda.com. We have a free side, a public side. Also, the subscription side, 30 cents a day, $9 a month. You can sign up for a month and get rid of it if you don't like it. But again, information and guests and extra shows that we produce every week to empower you with information the fake media will never provide. Again, today's topic is President Trump's counteroffensive against the deep state. Now, there are many people out there, when I bring this up, that say there is no counteroffensive. He's just going to keep on keeping on and try to get through the next 6 years. Well, I don't think that's the case. Last week he was on Hannity's show on Fox, and he was specifically asked about the perpetrators of this fake Russian hoax that was intent on removing him from power. He made it very clear that his intentions are not to let that go by the wayside, that people need to be held accountable, no matter who they are or who they were. In addition, he was recently out here in Michigan this past week, and he made it very clear. According to this from Zero Hedge, you're not going to see this on MSNBC or CNN, but, quote, they've got big problems. Trump vows to hold officials behind the collusion hoax accountable. President Trump told a packed audience in Michigan that he's been fully vindicated by Special Counsel Robert Mueller's report, and those who perpetrated the Russian hoax will now be held to account. This group of major losers did not just ruthlessly attack me, my family, and everyone who questioned their lies. They tried to divide our country, to poison the national debate, and to tear up the fabric of our great democracy, the greatest anywhere in the world. They did it all because they refused to accept the results of one of the greatest presidential elections, probably number one in our history, end quote. You see, what the fake Russian hoax narrative was all about, when you boil it all down, it was about sedition, about the criminals trying to remove a duly elected president of the United States. And by criminals, I'm putting in that category Obama and Clinton and Brennan and Clapper and Comey and Lynch, just to name a few. Treason. They co-opted the system so that they worked in conjunction with foreign operatives, not just in the UK, not just in Australia, to weave this web of deception and lies, but also individuals associated with the Russian government, an enemy of this country. Networking with enemies of our country is treason. Brennan, Clapper, Obama, Clinton, just to name a few. In addition, what this fake Russian hoax narrative was all about, in addition to sedition and treason, it was about covering up the criminal violation of the Fourth Amendment rights of millions of Americans that were in the hands with their criminal activity of Obama and Brennan and Clapper. And again, what I focus on in that respect is related to what we brought forward on our radio show with General Tom McInerney on March 19th, 2017, that had been reported by investigative reporters Mary Fanning and Alan Jones on March 17th, 2017. And General McInerney, who was just on our show this past Sunday, reiterated this, that an illegal surveillance system by the name of the Hammer was created to illegally surveil phone calls, internet activity, financial transactions, text messages of not just citizen Trump, not just President-elect Trump, and not just Trump's team and General Flynn, but millions of Americans, you and me. They needed to cover that up, and that's what the fake Russian hoax was all about. And it was also about covering up for Hillary's humiliating defeat. It was an electoral college landslide. And the fake Russian hoax was also all about a protection policy for the deep state middle-level puppets and their past criminal activity. Roger Simon from PJ Media stated the following: Trump was not just spied upon, it was entrapment. It's bad enough, has been evident for some time, that Donald Trump and his campaign were spied upon by our own government, but it's highly likely that they were also subject to literal entrapment. At least a serious attempt was made. I don't mean the entrapment of promulgating the salacious Steele dossier both to the public, Steele dossier, by the way, which was paid for by the DNC and the Clinton campaign. The salacious Steele dossier both to the public and the FISA court as if it were the truth. That was more of a smear to justify a phony investigation. I mean something more subtle coming from the depths of our intelligence communities. Brennan and Clapper. It raises once more the question of the power of such agencies in a free society, a conundrum with no easy answers but of great significance to our lives. You see, the president is on a countermove. And some of that is going to be the release of Inspector General from the Department of Justice Horowitz's report as it relates to the FISA abuse. And some of that is going to be related to Prosecutor Huber's presentation as it relates to how the Department of Justice and FBI handled Hillary's emails, or didn't handle. But the countermove is also that President Trump is instituting, is exposing the deep state's pay-to-play business model. You see, the pay-to-play business model that the deep state has instituted on many fronts, and we'll talk about them, is all about money laundering. And I believe, based on the information I've heard, that the president is going after that pay-to-play mechanism to not only expose these deep state players, but if you will, to use a Capone type of technique of taking them down. Remember, Al Capone was brought down not for the hundreds, if not thousands of people that he was involved in the murder of. They got him on income tax evasion, essentially money laundering. And that's the counterattack that the president is using against these deep state players. He's going to use their involvement in pay-to-play models that they've been involved in to take them down. Now, many people have no idea what pay-to-play means. Do you find it coincidental that out of nowhere, all of a sudden we start to hear about these Hollywood actors and actresses, these hedge fund managers on Wall Street that were involved and have been involved for years, but it just comes out now, in pay-to-play maneuvers and models to get their kids into schools that they had no right attending based on their track records. You see, if President Trump would have come out with a counterattack on Hillary Clinton, for example, as it relates to her pay-to-play mechanism that was in place for the Clinton Foundation, you pay us money, we'll call them donations, and we'll allow you, while I'm Secretary of State, your country to buy weapon systems that you would normally not be able to buy. Pay me, and you can play in, if you will, the weapons running world. If he would have presented that, or the Department of Justice would have presented that, people would be scratching their heads and going, I don't get it. This is too existential for me to understand. They're setting the battlefield, you see. And they introduced this pay-to-play takedown with these actors and actresses, well-known people that, anybody reading the National Enquirer go, oh, I remember this Huffman. Oh, I remember this. This is like Aunt Becky from Full House. Oh, yeah. And they all understand going to college. And everybody in this country understands that it can be very difficult getting into college. And everyone understands that, wait a minute. Are you telling me that these actors and actresses, this Felicity Huffman and this Lori Loughlin, that they hired people to help their kids cheat in taking tests so they got higher scores, like raising their grades from 1,000 to 1,400 on their SATs? So in other words, from like the 50th percentile to the 98th percentile. Wait, they hired somebody to be in the room when they took the test and helped them with the test and then corrected the test and changed the answer. Wait a minute. That's what pay to play is about? That they paid so that the kids could then play at colleges where they never could have gotten in to begin with? People get that. Wait a minute. You're going to tell me that Felicity Huffman and Lori Loughlin, just to name a few, plus these hedge fund managers, they paid hundreds of thousands of dollars to these universities to get their kids in? Yet these are the same people and these are the same universities that denigrate us who supported President Trump? Yeah, same ones. There's a reason why this pay-to-play mechanism was brought forward as it relates to these kids and these actresses and these actors and these hedge fund managers on Wall Street. It was done now, I believe, to make it easier for folks to understand when a lot of these other players start getting brought down as it relates to pay-to-play. Okay, let's talk about who some of these players are. Let's start with Bernie Sanders. What? Oh, big time pay-to-play. This from Zero Hedge. Obscene. Bernie Sanders shutters his institute over pay-to-play accusations. Now, if we hadn't had the ground laid with these actors and actresses and hedge fund managers about getting their kids into colleges, when folks would hear about this, they go, pay-to-play? What's that? No, they automatically associated with what happened before with paying money to get those kids into these universities. So with Bernie, reflecting on accusations of pay-to-play influence peddling at the Clinton Foundation, Senator Bernie Sanders told CNN back in March of 2016, when nobody really quite got this, what he was saying, that, quote, it is obscene that Secretary Clinton keeps going to big money people to fund her campaign. In other words, pay us and then we'll let you play as far as contracts, okay? Well, all of which makes the news that the nonprofit think tank founded by Sanders' wife and son and associated with Bernie is closing up shop after drawing criticism over the donations it's been receiving all the more intriguing. The institute was founded to promote liberal policies less than 2 years ago by the Sanders family with the backing of pro-Sanders celebrities and advocates, though Sanders himself had no formal position with the foundation, although supported it. While it operates at a fraction of the scale of the Clinton Foundation, it has accepted hundreds of thousands of dollars during its brief existence and has declined to disclose its donors and is now shutting down. Oh, so the first casualty were these stars and starlets and hedge fund managers as it relates to their kids getting into schools they had no right getting into. Now it's the closing of Bernie's Institute because of pay to play. While we're talking about pay to play, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, she has a little problem too, right? Wasn't it revealed that millions of dollars with her and her campaign manager were accepted, and some of the people who sent money in that money laundering activity could well related to a pay to play mechanism? You think that's a coincidence? Or the fact that this other congressional representative, Omar, received, now remember, Omar came down against anybody accepting money for their campaigns from PACs. Okay, fair enough. Omar received tens of thousands of dollars from PACs and also from lobbyists. Oh, pay to play, you think? Did they pay her so that she pushed their agenda? Well, let's see. Omar, in fact, according to Federal Election Commission, received nearly $60,000 from PACs. Oh. One PAC which Omar received thousands of dollars in 2018 is the Council on American Islamic Relations. CARE was named as an unindicted, that same organization was named as an unindicted co-conspirator in the 2009 Holy Land Foundation trial, the largest terrorism financing trial in American history. And CARE not only has a PAC, it is a lobbying organization. CARE recently hosted a community congressional reception at which Omar spoke. In fact, in all, Omar received tens of thousands of dollars from lobbying groups. Can you say pay to play? But the Godzilla of all pay to play mechanisms is the focus of where President Trump is going. Go back to what he said on Hannity's show. When he was asked, is Hillary going to get a pass? Because when you first became president, it sounded like you were just going to kind of let that go. And what did the president say? Over time, no, we can't give it a pass. In other words, Hillary's on the burner. They had to set the stage by identifying what pay to play was. They did so with these actors, actresses, starlets, and hedge fund managers and what's going on with their kids and getting them into colleges. They also reinforced it with Bernie's, Omar's, and Ocasio-Cortez's situations that have since developed. But they're all setting the stage for the big one. And that big one is the takedown of the Clinton Foundation. Go back to December 13th, 2018. Moynihan and Doyle, two investigators, presented to Congress. And they presented that the Clinton Foundation used the pay-to-play mechanism and laundered between $450 million and $2.5 billion, and possibly even more, laundered it through the Clinton Foundation in a pay-to-play mechanism. They didn't even touch on Uranium One. Uranium One, Barack Obama president, Hillary Clinton Secretary of State. They worked a deal where 20% of the United States uranium supply was essentially handed over to Russia. And what did we get in the process? Well, not much, but Hillary got a lot. Got $145 million. In other words, you pay us $145 million to the Clinton Foundation, and we'll let you play. We'll give you 20% of the uranium supply. Donald Trump's counterattack is focusing on the pay-to-play mechanism that the deep state has instituted across the board. Whether it's the business model pay-to-play that they use with these folks out of Hollywood and on Wall Street to get their kids into colleges, that makes it understandable. But of late, we've seen the Sanders Institute close, Ocasio-Cortez called on the carpet for pay-to-play, Omar called on the carpet for pay-to-play, and the next shoe to drop, the big shoe, the boot, is what happens with the Clinton Foundation. I believe that mechanism of pay to play is the 2019 version of what they did and how they brought down Al Capone. I thank you for your time today. You can always join us on the DaveJanda.com platform. We're there 24/7 for you on the free side and also on the subscription side. I hope you'll become a member of our Freedom family. We present our WTF show, our geopolitical analysis show, from information given to me from my sources that I've developed over 30 years behind the curtain. We have our Insider Insight interview where we present folks from behind the curtain to present information. A good example of that is our interviews with Charles Woods, the father of Ty Woods, who died in Benghazi, and our subsequent interview with Charles Woods and whistleblower Travis, who was a whistleblower who identified the fact that there was a stand-down order, so that enabling those 4 Americans to die unnecessarily at the hands of Obama and Hillary Clinton in Benghazi. That's the type of work we do behind our subscription service. In addition, we have our Department of Advanced Research show. You have the archives to all of our radio shows all the way back to 2010. Only subscribers have access to our podcasts of our radio shows. And of course, the archives to our Insider Insight show and our WTF show. I hope you'll join us on the subscription side. I hope you'll keep joining us here on our YouTube channel. I thank you for your time. And until next time, Dave Janda signing off. Dream big and dare to fail.